out there, Michael Schratt being one of them, who will state that, do you remember that scene? I'm going to put it this way. Does everybody remember that scene in the original Men in Black where Tommy Lee Jones takes Will Smith to the newsstand and he grabs the National Enquirer and Star Magazine and all these gossip garbage magazines, right?
Yep.
Well, there's a line in there where Tommy says, "This is where we put out the information. We put it out to the public because nobody believes it." Well, there are a number of high-profile researchers out there who believe that that's exactly what the DIA, the CIA, the NSA, and all of these different groups have actually been doing in order to get the UFO message out there.
And that's very possible. Would I pick up the Inquirer and believe everything I read out of it? Probably not. But I might look at it and do a little more research into some of the stories and see if there's any fact behind it.
Oh, yeah, but, I mean, if you all of a sudden see a UFO story on, say, page 12 of the National Enquirer that has a cover basically saying, "I gave birth to Bigfoot's love child," you're not gonna believe anything in there.
No.
You know what I'm saying? But it's intriguing how that works. It's very intriguing how it works, because they do get the message out. It's just a matter of how do they get the message.
So,
I do got to say on that.
Go ahead.
So go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just wanted to get Chris's input.
With what he was saying, like with bringing up the Men in Black, being a new guy into the whole UFO world,
welcome.
It is amazing, considering I grew up with those movies and thinking that they were kind of a spoof thing. I had no idea how much documentation there is about the group, the Men in Black, and how much of it actually predates those movies. Like, it is amazing how much documentation there is about them.
Well, even in Blue Book, they kind of, you can take it either as the cigarette smoking man out of X-Files, or you can take it as kind of their portrayal of the Men in Black in Blue Book. Either or.
Oh, it's definitely the Men in Black that they're using there in Blue Book, which is very fascinating.
It is.
That they bring that out in this dramatic television series as well. As a matter of fact, now that we're talking about the Men in Black, the very first sighting report of a man in black was at the Maury Island incident right here in the state of Washington. Matter of fact, before Roswell, New Mexico, before Kenneth Arnold, the Maury Island incident happened in South Puget Sound and just off the coast of Burien there. And part of that story was when those 5 donut-shaped saucers were sighted over this tugboat that dropped this molten slag onto the boat and killed the boat owner's dog and injured the boat.
Mr. Dahl, was it not?
Yeah. It was Harold Dahl.
Yep.
Was his name. He was the boat captain. And it injured his 12-year-old son's arm. He had to take to the hospital as well. But before he even told anyone about what his sighting was, he was visited early the next morning by the first Men in Black guy with the hat, the fedora, the suit, the whole thing, telling him that he probably shouldn't tell anybody what he just saw, which was totally amazing. No one even heard about what he saw yet. And this government official or Men in Black, whatever you want to call them, knew about it at that point. So the state of Washington is about ground zero for everything paranormal. When you're talking UFOs, Bigfoot, Men in Black, it all happened and started right here in our Pacific Northwest, the state of Washington.
Well, even, I'll bring this up, even haunting cases, have always been here with downtown Seattle in the 1920s, with Thornwood Castle, which was the site of
Rose Red.
Yeah, you know, yeah. So Washington State's got every aspect of the paranormal. I don't think we have Mothman, but we have everything else. And you know, sticking with Maury Island just for a real brief second, you know, what's fascinating too about that is they actually pulled Kenneth Arnold into that case because I believe he had his sighting like 3 days after the Maury Island incident. Was it not, or it might have been a week?
Yeah, it was basically a week before.
Yeah.
And and you're exactly right, Coop. This was so fascinating. Kenneth Arnold's sighting happened after Maury Island, but Kenneth Arnold became a national figure at that point. For some reason, his story really made the press. What happened was Fate magazine that we're talking about earlier,
right,
was the premier paranormal mystery magazine that people would buy. And Fate magazine wanted to do a story on Kenneth Arnold's sighting report, of course. So they hired him, and they did an article on his story. But then Kenneth Arnold, at the time, told the gentleman at Fate magazine, guess what? Mine wasn't the first. There was the Maury Island incident the week before mine, and so they actually hired Kenneth Arnold to investigate the Maury Island incident. And he went back and talked with Harold Dahl and some other mysterious people, at least one of them anyway, but a gentleman by the name of Chrisman, who seems to have in the background of a lot of other black ops programs, including possibly even the JFK assassination issue. He was involved all the way through this himself. But they actually had, that's when the Army Air Force split apart into the Army and the Air Force when this slag or this material from the UFO was recovered off of Harold Dahl's boat. The military showed up with Kenneth Arnold to do the interview, and they took the slag and tried to fly it out to Wright-Patterson, and they crashed. That was the very first U.S. Air Force crash.
It crashed in Oregon.
It happened in eastern Washington, actually.
Oh, did it? Okay.
That's where it went down.
Okay. I thought it was Oregon.
Yeah.
You hear different reports of it.
Yes. So anyway, we are embroiled in this area in all of those fascinating things, including Kenneth Arnold becoming interested in investigating for the U.S. Air Force the Maury Island incident.
Mm-hmm. And you know, going back to Blue Book, I wonder if they're going to do an episode on Maury Island. If they'll do, you know, back cases and bring it up, because I believe they started off in 52, did they not?
Yes. I sincerely doubt that they probably will add that. If they want to stay, well, I mean, they have 12,000 cases in Project Blue Book alone to cover if they want.
Mm-hmm.
And the Air Force officers who were investigating the Maury Island incident weren't a part of Blue Book or Grudge or Sign or anything like that at that point. So I'm sure there were intelligence officers involved in some program. That's why they sent them out there. But I don't think Project Blue Book would probably get into that. They've got plenty other fish to fry at this point.
I got a question for the panel.
Go ahead.
The last episode, the Flatwoods Monster.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was underneath the tarp? What's the second piece they pulled out of there?
I think that was the crash.
Bothered me so much.
I think it was the crashed craft. It was UFO shaped.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it the body?
No, I think it was. I think it was the craft. I don't think they ever recovered the body because it was never the portrayal, and even in the case files, they never found. They never there was already wreckage when the kids encountered this creature that they called an owl. Well, it wasn't an owl, but there was never a body to recover. There would, however, have been a craft, and if you looked at the shape of what was on that flatbed, it was somewhat circular shaped.
Yeah.
So I think the creature disappeared, went about its merry way, found its way back to where it came from. I have no idea. They never really went back to that. Even in the case files, it was never seen again. So what I find intriguing too with this show is the portrayal. You look at the circular table that these mysterious guys are sitting around, and I see that as MJ-12 or Magi.
Exactly.
Which is cool because MJ-12 really existed. Dr. Hynek really existed. So if you want a fact-based drama, that's the one. And I think that's the smoking gun of TV shows that people need to be paying attention to. What's your thoughts, Dave? You've been quiet over there.
Oh, I'm just listening to you guys. With my schedule, I hate to be a little bit obtuse here, but I have absolutely no knowledge of the television show because A, I don't have cable, and B, I'm usually working when it is on, so I don't get to watch it anyways.
Okay, for our listeners that have not seen it yet, because I don't have History Channel either, I go to the History Channel website. Just Google History Channel, go to the website, and they have the episodes right there for you to watch. That's how I watch it. I don't get to watch it. Huh? Yeah, it's free.
For free?
For free.
Awesome.
The first episode was on YouTube. It was on their YouTube channel, but they took it off. But now it is on the History Channel website. Just go to, I think it's historychannel.com, and you're going to see Project Blue Book pop right up. I tried to post it in the chat room. It wouldn't let me. So, yeah, it still won't let me. But just Google History Channel. You can watch both episodes. It airs every Tuesday night. I'm not going to put the times because, time zones, and we're an international show. But by all means, it's a show worth watching. And I'm going to wrap up the Blue Book portion. We're at the bottom, the last half hour of the show. I want to hit on this MUFON topic. And I'm going to let Dave go ahead and take the lead on that one.
Well, yesterday morning I was sent a letter by Chris Cogswell, who's a former director of research for MUFON, who quit the group back in April of 2018 because of finding out information that John Ventry, the former Pennsylvania State MUFON director, had made racial comments on his Facebook page, and then was still subsequently, after being forced to step down from that position due to his comments, had continued working behind the scenes. So Chris, who is also the Spaced Out Radio Scientist and a guest on our monthly show that we call Reality Paranormal, sent me this note from a gentleman named Philip Leach, who is someone who is currently with MUFON, but wrote a scathing letter to MUFON members that was produced on January 17th, which was Thursday, basically released to the public yesterday, regarding some major concerns about the internal happenings of the UFO organization. Now, this is a group that is headed by a gentleman named Jan Harzan, who, from all intents and purposes, from what I have heard, is a pretty good dude. All right, I have never